What's up, everybody? I'm Eric, and this is Under the Arch Sports. Today, we're going to talk about Mizzou's big win over the Kentucky Wildcats. Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and find us on Facebook and on Instagram. So, Missouri finally got a win over Kentucky. First time since 2014, ending a 5-year losing streak. And Missouri looked pretty good doing it. Beginning with the offense, Connor Bazelak went 21 out of 30 for 201 yards. No touchdowns, no interceptions. It's not the jaw-dropping numbers that Bazelak had against LSU, but this is a good, steady performance. And honestly, that the consistency is all you're looking for out of a freshman quarterback, especially a freshman quarterback who's making his second start as the guy. Can't ask for a whole lot more than that, especially against a Kentucky team that has been forcing so many turnovers. You look at Larry Roundtree, 37 carries, 126 yards, and a pair of touchdowns. I mean, what more can you ask for out of a running back? As for you can get to Tyler Beatty and his contributions. And, you look at the Missouri offense. They had 421 total yards, 220 yards on the ground, 201 in the air, as I mentioned. To me, it looked like the emphasis was on minimizing the opportunities that Kentucky's defense would have to turn Missouri over. So it was all about ball protection, and I think that's just because, as we mentioned in our preview video that David and I did, Kentucky had forced 9 turnovers in its past 2 games. And with Kentucky's offense being as limited as it is, keeping them from having short fields was paramount, and we saw that play out in this game. So I think that is a good strategy by Coach Drinkwitz. I think it took the I think it took away some of the downfield shots that we might have expected out of Bazelak, but maybe I'm wrong on that one. Now you look at the Missouri defense against the Kentucky offense. Oh man, that's whew. The Kentucky offense. Let's start with quarterback. Terry Wilson was 3 of 9 for 35 yards. That's terrible. And he's a veteran. He did so poorly that Joey Gatewood came in, their backup, and he completed 1 pass for 12 yards. And they said, all right, enough of you. Terry Wilson, you're back in. 47 total yards, 4 out of 13 overall. That is startling to see out of an SEC offense. Then you look at Kentucky running the football. They came into this game north of 200 yards on the ground per game. Missouri held them to 98 yards. They had Kentucky 8 first downs and 6 punts. When your opponent is punting as much as they're getting first downs almost, that is a massive win. Now, Kentucky only held the ball for 16 minutes, 50 seconds. Barely more than a quarter of the game. Whew. That's impressive. Kentucky ran 36 plays. For comparison, Missouri ran 92. That is jaw-dropping. And, you look at the Missouri defense. They forced a turnover, which, that hasn't happened a whole lot. It was Joshua Bledsoe basically just took the ball away from the Kentucky receiver, and that all but iced the game. And then you look at Nick Bolton. He came in averaging 12 tackles, per game. On the surface you might look and say 7 tackles, that's what he had, and you say, oh, okay. That's, not at the Nick Bolton level, but it's still pretty good. Well, when you consider, as I mentioned, 36 plays is all he was out there on defense, and he still had 7 tackles. He was everywhere, once again. Now, I mentioned the turnovers. We talked about in our preview video, David mentioned that though you could say that turnover battle is going to determine the winner for almost any game, it was especially important for this game because you knew coming in that Kentucky's offense was limited and that turnovers would give them a short field and give them free points, basically. If you look at the Tennessee game, back-to-back pick sixes. You look at the Mississippi State game, 6 interceptions. Those are their 2 wins. And Missouri did not turn the ball over. Again, I think there was an emphasis on protecting the ball when it came to play calling. And it worked. And then, now, I think we need to take a second to appreciate Larry Roundtree. With this performance against Kentucky, he now is 3rd all-time on Mizzou's career rushing list. The only players ahead of him are Zach Abron, who he might catch against Florida, and probably will almost certainly catch by the end of this season, and Brad Smith, who will, let's face it, he'll probably never be caught. He's got everybody on the list covered by 1,000 yards. That's not bad for a guy who didn't have a whole lot of Power 5 offers, not the most highly heralded recruit out of high school. Now for Coach Drinkwitz, this game is a little bit of a dream come true in that it didn't take an A-plus effort. The team played well, don't get me wrong, but there were plenty of things to work on. If you look at the very first play of the game for the Missouri offense, Connor Bazelak looked downfield on that flea flicker, and I imagine it was probably the exact same play that Missouri ran against LSU. Well, he looked downfield, and they said on the broadcast on SEC Network that Kiki Chisholm was wide open. They didn't show us a good replay, so we couldn't really see. But Damon Hazelton, the receiver who ended up catching the quick out on that play, he was pointing downfield like, throw it there. I don't know if Bazelak missed him or if it was the conservative play calling and Bazelak being told don't throw it unless it's wide open. But could have been a missed opportunity. Similarly, penalties. Missouri had 6. It felt like a lot more, if we're being real. And some of them were avoidable in that they didn't need to happen. There was some sloppy discipline. And, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on the Ennis Rakestraw penalty. That was a garbage call. I would have had it as a no call, maybe offsetting, because they were both jawing and all that. Whatever. Now our highlight of the day. Thank you, Larry Roundtree III, again. The play towards the end of the game, running down near the Missouri sideline, he absolutely dump trucked the Kentucky defender. And that poor defender reached his hand up for someone to help him up, and instead all he saw was the entire Missouri football team laughing at him for getting rocked. That's our play of the day. Now, looking forward, Missouri will take on Florida in Gainesville. That'll be a tough matchup. David and I will be back later in the week to preview it. Hopefully you'll tune in, watch our video, and see what we think about that. See you next time.